Hi everyone, this is Pastor Bonnie, and I am so glad that you decided to stop in and have a visit and work on this beautiful painting with me. The colors that I've chosen for this palette are bright colors: purple, pink, blue, white, and we have a little bit of black that we're going to use. And so what I like to do is I'm just going to start with putting daubs of color on the canvas. And then once I get all the daubs on there, all I'm going to do is use a palette knife and mix them all together. So you can see here there's just dollops of bright paint, and then I like to use a palette knife. This one's a plastic one, and I got this at I think I got this one at Hobby Lobby, and there's like a package of 5 for they're like $4 or $5. So right now I'm just spreading the paint kind of in a random order, and then I like to go back and scrape the paint off because I don't want it to be just that pretty. It's kind of a sort of a lavender color, but you can see when you scrape the paint off, it leaves some of the other colors underneath, and that's kind of the secret to working with acrylic paints, because you can add layer upon layer upon layer, and that's actually what we're going to do. So this next part, I'm just going to let you watch, and I won't say anything. We're just going to let it play. But so I forgot to tell you, I took a soft brush and kind of smoothed it over, and then I went back over it again and scraped off more of the paint. And you can still see all the colors underneath it. I absolutely love painting angels, and a lot of times I will put praise and worship music on. And you know, angels really look out for us, and everybody has, I believe, a guardian angel. And I'm going to share a couple really special stories with you while I'm talking about doing the painting. It's just really, for me, it's how I worship God. And when you do something that you love, it's actually an act of worship. So if you love to cook, if you love to sing, if you love to take care of your kids, if you love your job, everything you do that you love is an act of worship to God. So here you can see I'm actually starting to paint some purple paint up the side and across the top of the painting. And I meant to tell you guys, this is a 16 by 24 canvas. And so it's a little bigger than I usually work with. It's a comfortable size though. And so with acrylic paint, you just add layer upon layer upon layer. And then I have a really soft, smooth sponge, and then I like to go along the edges. And this is where the tree is going to be painted. And it's just softening the colors. And then I literally just go back and keep adding layers. The trick with acrylic paint, you have to let the layers dry in between, because if you don't, the paint's going to look really muddy. And so I just go until it starts to look a little muddy, and then I have to put it aside. And the background for this painting took me 8 hours yesterday. I actually painted the background in one day, and then I painted the rest of it the second day. So this one took probably 10 to 12 hours because of waiting with the drying time. You can speed it up if you use a blow dryer, and sometimes I'll do that, but a lot of times I just want to relax anyway and enjoy the process. So I tend to let it dry naturally. And for this one, I really wanted to have rich saturation of color, and you'll notice with acrylic paint, it will dry. It looks darker when you put it on, and then when it dries, it's much lighter. That's the reason why I had to put so many layers on for this one. And this one it's kind of a random pattern. If you try to do this painting, your painting's going to look very different than mine, because everybody has different tastes and ways they do things. And sometimes people will send me pictures of their paintings that they do, and that is so joyful, and I so enjoy that. So we're just adding colors right now, and we're going to add some more and let it dry. So this part, we're basically just adding layers upon layers upon layers and using the sponge to soften them in between the layers. And you notice I went up the side. Now I'm going up the side with dark purple paint. And then you're going to see in here in a little bit, I'm actually going to go up the side with black paint. And it is going to look so ugly. And, I always tell people at the beginning of the painting, it really doesn't look that great. But as we add more and more and more to it, you're going to be so amazed how every little detail and every little bit we add adds to the beauty of the end result. And I find it really addictive to do these. This is a really easy technique. You can see all I've been doing is using a spatula and a sponge and one little paintbrush. So it's not a hard technique. And even as we get going with the rest of it, it's not a hard technique. And you can stop the video and take your time and just really enjoy the process. And I welcome any comments you have. If you have prayer requests, I'm an ordained minister, and I will keep that confidential. I pray every day. And I will tell you, I have actually seen angels. I know they're real. They've appeared at my bedside. I have some of the most incredible stories. So I thought while we're watching this part, I'll go ahead and tell you one of the stories. And first of all, I just want to tell you, I have a personal relationship with Jesus, who is the Son of God. He is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one can come to the Father but through him. So if you don't know him, you can just stop and pause and say, Jesus, I ask you to come into my heart and forgive me of my sins. That's how simple it is. And it's not about a religion. It's about a relationship. And I promise you, he will make himself so real to you. So for me, I met him when I was 16 years old. And the first angelic visit I got I was in my early 20s, and I was not expecting to see any angels. I wasn't thinking about it. I was a wife and a mother, and I was very busy. And so this one particular night, I had 2 sons at the time. One of them woke up, and so being a mom, you get up in the middle of the night to see what's going on with your kids. And when I went to go check on my son, I went to step my foot out of the bed, and there was a man standing there dressed in a blue choir robe. He had dark curly hair, and his hands were folded in front of him. I let out the biggest piercing scream you could ever imagine, and I woke my husband up, and I said, Jeff, turn the light on. So he turned on the light, and I actually saw him float up through the ceiling. I thought, okay, maybe that was a nightmare. Maybe it was the pizza I ate. I didn't think much about it. 2 weeks later, my manager asked me for a ride home. So I felt a funny feeling on the inside, and I want to tell you guys, if you ever get a funny feeling, really, you need to listen to it, because that's a warning on the inside of you. And I didn't listen to it. I let my logic overrule. And so as soon as he gets in the car, he starts to tell me in graphic detail what he's planning on doing to me. So he makes me drive around to an abandoned school, and we drive around the back, and all of a sudden I felt this presence all the way around the car. I can't explain it. I couldn't see it, but it was almost like a shield all the way around the car. And I remember hearing words on the inside. Now I'm thinking, I'm making up my getaway plan. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to take the next opportunity and run around the car, run and get away from him, whatever I had to do. If I had to jump out of the car, I would have. And that's what was going through my mind. But I'm hearing the words on the inside. And to be honest, I don't know what I said to him. I don't have any memory of it. The next thing I know, he says to me, I don't know how you talked me out of that, but take me back to the job site. So I did. He gets out of the car and he leaves. And come to find out, he had done that to a number of women at the job site where I worked. And so he ended up getting fired because of it. But I believe what I saw was my guardian angel. And I really believe there are so many times when we think it's a coincidence. And I bet if you were to stop and think, you can think of a time when you should have really gotten hurt and you didn't. And those are times when angels are helping us. So I wanted to share that with you and just encourage you and let you know that you are so loved and so treasured, and God has a purpose for you. You're here for a reason. And we sometimes life can be so hard and we think, I'm nobody special. But we really all are special. And every one of us has our own place and our own special thing that we are to do. So I really enjoy sharing this time with you. I actually like to teach these classes and travel, and exactly how I'm doing this with you, this is how I do it with my classes. We just talk and laugh and get some good food and enjoy painting. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm using a fan brush, and if you take the brush and tip it on its side, you can see it's kind of almost making grass. And purple's a really great color to use for a background color. I use it a lot for shadows and stuff like that. And so you can see our painting still does not have any shape or form to it. It's still just adding layers and layers. And like I told you before, it's all about what looks good to you. So you can see I keep adding a little more, let it dry, pat some more. And here I took some really light pale blue, and it kind of, see how I made it the light around the dark in the tree. Now we're starting to get some shadow effects, and you can sort of see the shape of what the tree is going to be like. And then the next step, when you get the colors where you want them, now we're going to put the tree on. And I love to paint trees because the trunks don't have to be perfect, the branches don't have to be. And so I was using a round brush, and you just make the trunk, and then if you take the brush and you drag it away from you, see how I'm doing that right here? It gets thick on one end and thin on the other, and it makes your branches. You see? It's a soft flowing motion. And so you just want to get as many branches as you want, and you get the tree looking the way it feels good to you. And I wanted to go up the side and all the way across the top of the canvas. And this, actually, I forgot to tell you, I think I told you, this is an 18 by 24 pressed canvas. They're really inexpensive. You can get them for a couple dollars a piece. And so you can see the tree is starting to take shape. And I'm just going to let you watch it here for a few minutes. This has actually been so much fun. I've really enjoyed spending this time with you. Usually when I record these videos, I like to do a combination of the stills and then the live video. And I like to do the stills because I can zoom in on the details and let you see it. So I've gotten a little better at it. I do these on my iPhone. But this one's actually the first one where I've done the voiceover. Usually I like to put music and just let you watch and enjoy the experience. But I've had a lot of people ask me if I would actually teach. And so I thought it would be kind of fun. So what I'm doing now is I have a flat brush, and we want to make the tree look three-dimensional. So what I'm doing is I go up one side of the tree, and you always want to choose the side where the sun hits the tree. So like if you were going to do a group of trees, you would want to put the white on the same side on all the trees. And my husband, when he saw this, he thought it looked like a white birch, which it kind of does, because white birches have the real pretty white bark. But you can see just by adding the white up the side of the tree, it's making the tree look like it's three-dimensional. And I wanted you to see the color saturation, so I took a picture of it in the sunlight. Look at the difference. When you get the sun, it really brings out the colors. It's incredible. See, you can see how deep that color saturation is from using the different layers. And you can see the purple behind the tree. It creates a shadow. And then you can see how the branches look like it looks like a real tree. So it's not a hard technique, and any of you can do it. And then this next part is one of my most favorite techniques, and I really lamented over what color to do the leaves. So I mixed some hot pink with a little bit of white, and that's actually a sea sponge that I cut a piece off of it, and you just daub it on in a random order. I try to make it follow the shape of the branches, and so I would go back with a little bit of pink, and then I would go back with a little bit of white, and I just love the look. It's soft, and it makes it look like tree leaves. So you can see when you look close up how pretty that is. And actually what I'm going for is I wanted to look like apple blossoms in the spring. That's what this reminded me of. And so now I'm just going to flick it. And so this is also another favorite technique. That's a stiff boar bristle brush. I bought it on Amazon for a couple dollars. You dip the brush in water, and then you water down the paint, and then you take your finger and you just make a spray motion, and it spatters the paint, so it makes it look like the petals are falling. And then I went back with a really fine tipped brush, and I watered down the black paint, and I wanted to add the ends of the branches. So that because when you put the the pink paint, the flowers on top of the branches, it covers them all up. So I wanted to bring some of the branches back out. And then I went back and tapped a little more white and a little more pink until I got it the way I wanted. And you can see the really pretty spatters. That's actually one of my very favorite techniques. See how pretty that is? And now we're going to start adding the angel. And that's just, I just love to do this one. And I like to take a fine brush and I water down, you know, put a little bit of water on it and dip it in white. And I just sketch out the angel. So here I'm working on the face and the neck of the angel. And I never know how these are going to come out. That's why it's so joyful, because I don't pre-plan these. Sometimes I'll look at a picture to kind of get an idea. So this one, the angel is holding a little baby, and this painting actually has some really special meaning for me. I had a miscarriage and lost a baby, so you know, it just meant a lot to think that my baby would be in the arms of the angels, carried to heaven. And then I also, when Jeff and I first got married, the doctor said you'll never get pregnant and you'll never carry a baby. So I named this one, is called Micah. She is the angel of miracles. And we stood on God's word for a year. We quoted this scripture every day. For I spoke, and it came to be. I commanded, and it stood firm. And 1 year after I started standing on the scriptures, I held my son in my arms. So this angel is a reminder for those of you who've lost a baby and your heart is just broken. She'll bring you peace and love and help fill that void. And for those of you who need a miracle and you want to have a baby of your own someday, she's a reminder that God's big enough and that he does do miracles for us. And so now I'm working on the wings. Excuse me, sorry. And usually I like to make the wings really kind of almost a bright white and look like feathers. But this one, I wanted it to be almost translucent because we're going to go back and put some really pretty sparkles in the wings. So I took some white paint and watered it down, and I have like a medium point brush, and you can see I'm just going to add the white paint. It's watered down. It's almost like working with watercolor paint. And we're just going to fill in the wings. And you'll notice in the beginning, it looks a lot darker here when we first put the paint on, but you're going to see in a few slides that the paint actually is much lighter as it dries. So I ended up going over it a couple times until I got the wings the way I wanted. So you can see it's just a really pretty soft angel wing. And then this is just letting you see the pretty spatters that it has. And then I'm going back over the angel and filling in the dress, and I'm adding her hair, and you just go back and let it dry in between and add a little bit more until you get it the way you want it. So what we're doing now is I went in and I love to put long flowing hair on the angels, and so that's what we're working on here. And then I have this really fun technique I want to teach you guys how to do. So what you do is you just take a dot of white paint and put it on the wings, and then you push down with your fingertip and it'll smudge it. And then you want to go back and put a little dot of white paint in the center, so it makes it look like pretty little sparkles and twinkles. And then the other thing I like to do is make little crosses so they look like little stars. So you guys can see how having the clear, almost the opaqueness of the wings, you can see the blue through them. And here I'm doing that same technique that we talked about earlier. You take the boar bristle brush and you put watered down white paint and you just run your fingers across it, and it will make really pretty little speckles and spattles. And I like to make it look like stars. It's kind of, when you look at it from a distance, it actually makes it look like it's sparkling. So you can see as we move up the painting, we've got the beautiful cherry blossoms or apple blossoms. Some people thought this was a winter snow scene. It's all in the eye of the beholder. And then the next thing I wanted to do, I wanted to create a skin tone for the baby and the angel on their faces and their arms. So I just mixed a little bit of tan with a little bit of white and a little bit of pink, just enough to give them so that you can tell where their arms are, and it helps you see the angel holding the baby with his little arms up on her neck, cuddling with her. And then I just went back and I drew in the baby's hair, and then I went back and put a little more white on the angel's hair, and it almost makes it look like it's glowing. So it's just a really easy technique. I usually don't try to put faces on the angels, and I will tell you, the times I've seen them, I don't always see their faces, and I can't make them look realistic, so I like them just looking the way they do. So I leave the faces off and just keep it simple. And then you can see how rich the colors look. These pictures I actually took outside so you could see them, and I put it in a really beautiful frame. I actually got the frame at Hobby Lobby. It was 40% off. I think it was a $40 frame, and I got it for $20. It's solid wood. I do sell these. If you're interested in this one, I have a website called The Father's Market at Etsy.com, and I have another one called Angel Song Art Studio at Etsy. And you're welcome to paint this. And like I told you, I'm a pastor. I'm here to pray for you. If you want to hear more of my stories, enlisting help, angelic encounters is available on Amazon. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I have so enjoyed it. You are so loved, and I count you as my friend. Take care, and God bless.